Hello folks, so this is my second video looking at the large dataset investigation, and we're going to do investigation 1A now. I'm assuming that you've already completed part of the investigation 1, which took us up to this point here where we created a new workbook called North, and another one I left you to have a go at to create one called South. So your Excel sheet now should have the original data for Heathrow 2015, and then just the data for a cardinal direction of north, northeast and northwest in the North tab, and then similarly for South, the south, southeast and south, southwest, which looks like it goes down to row 34. So you should have already formed that. If you haven't done that already, then make sure you go back and complete that before you have a go at this next investigation. Otherwise you won't be able to do it, basically. Here it gives us a bit of information about what we are investigating, so make sure you read that. We're going to plot a histogram, and as it suggests here, it is very difficult to plot histograms in Excel, unfortunately. It's possible. If you really want to try it, then in Appendix 1 of this document it does explain how to do it, but it is very laborious. It's far easier to do histograms, and in fact box plots as well, in GeoGebra. So it asks us to open a GeoGebra file. Again, just like with the Excel, the use of Excel, you don't want to use an online version of GeoGebra, really. You really want to download a proper version. So if you go to the GeoGebra website, then click down here on App Downloads, then this page will come up, and you want to download a classic version, either 5 or 6. I don't think they're particularly different really, but just download one of those, and make sure you use that rather than the online version. So once you've downloaded one of those, you open it, you should get something that looks like this. In fact, it won't have the spreadsheet there, it will just look like this. Okay, so if we go back to the instructions on the investigation, it asks us in GeoGebra to select View, then Spreadsheet. So if we go back to here, we click View and then Spreadsheet, and that's when this spreadsheet comes up on the right hand side that we can put our data into. And it asks us to, where are we down here? So in the Excel worksheet South, so make sure you choose the South tab at the bottom. We want to select column G, and we're going to copy that and put it into the first column, into cell A1 of GeoGebra. So if we have a go at that, so I make sure I go to my South tab there. I'm going to copy column G in the normal way, and then go back to my GeoGebra file, click in A1 and paste. And you might find that it takes a few seconds for this to come up, but this data should come up, which we've moved into GeoGebra now. It then asks us to click on the histogram, the one variable analysis icon up here, and when we do that, this comes up, this window in the middle, and if we click on the settings, sorry, in actual fact, we haven't yet selected the column. That's what I forgot to do, so let's just close that. So I need to select column A first of all, so that GeoGebra knows what data we're using. Then go back to the histogram, and now we've got our data here. We go to our settings, clicking this cog here. We've got number already chosen, and raw data. It asks us to also select use header as title, and once we do that, it just means it's taken this header row at the top and used that as the title for our data. Then if we click analyze, then again it might take a couple of seconds, but you should get a nice histogram window come up like this. Okay. So now what we're going to do is tidy some of this up, and we are moving to the next page of the investigation. And in fact, I think this instruction here at the top might not be quite correct. It asks us to right click on the arrow. We don't actually want to right click on the arrow. If instead you just left click on this kind of triangle pointing to the left, then it should come up with these options, which are what you want. Okay, and what we're asked to do is select the classes manually. So if we click on that, then at the top we can decide where it starts and the width of each class. Mine has come up with the ones we want straight away, in fact, so we are asked to put 0 here and we're asked to put 5 there. If yours hasn't come up like that, then just change those values. And it says for this question, leave frequency type as count. So you might remember back to histograms in GCSE, and we usually don't have frequency up the side. It's usually frequency density, otherwise known as the relative. But because the class widths are all equal for this histogram, it's absolutely fine to use frequency, so we're going to keep it as count there. And if you scroll down, then we want to show the histogram, but it also asks us to show the frequency table, so we click on the frequency table and it's come up there. Okay, and then all we need to do is right click and copy to graphics view, and then after a little while it should actually come up in the main screen as a histogram. And so we can close this and we're left with this nice histogram here. Again, it asks us to tidy up a few bits again, so we can get rid of this a equals 165 down here simply by right clicking on it and getting rid of show label. We can get rid of the frequency table up here by right clicking on text 1 and clicking on show object to get rid of that. Okay, so let's just go back to the instructions again and see where we are. So we've got rid of that, we have got rid of the frequency table. It then says right click on the graph area, not on the bars, and select graphics. Just be a bit careful when you do this. It won't work if you've still got text 1 highlighted here, so just click out of that, right click in here and then click on graphics. Alright, and in this part of the software we can just play around with the axes and label the axes and things like that. So let's just check what we've been asked to do. It says select the basic tab. Well, we've got that already highlighted, and we want our x min as -1.5, so I'm just going to change that to 1.5. Don't worry about the max, that doesn't matter. For the y min we're asked for -1, and again you can ignore the maximum there, that's fine. Then if we go to the x-axis tab, we're asked to tick the distance, and in here put a distance of 5, and then also in here for the x-axis we're going to label it with what the data is, which is daily maximum gust, and the unit is kn. Okay, and then similar for the y-axis, so click y-axis tab, we're going to click distance. This time it's asked us to use 2, and the y label, well, we've got the frequency on our y-axis, so we just change that to frequency, and then we can simply close that, and if you look now we've got these labeled, everything is as it should be. And this is where we're asked to copy this graph into a Word document. So we can go to Edit in the top left and Graphics View to Clipboard, which just means it's in your computer memory, and then we can go to a blank Word document and simply paste in the normal way. So that's how you can get a histogram drawn in GeoGebra, and then copy it and paste it into Word, and then it asks us to give a title for this, so we can just give it the title, what it's about. So it's daily maximum gust from the south at Heathrow, May to October 2015. Okay, then asks you to save your work, so you will want to save this Word document as well as making sure you've saved an updated version of your Excel if anything's changed in there. That should be enough now for you to continue with the questions. So starts here, question 8 and 9. There's nothing extra you need to do in Excel or GeoGebra to do those. And then indeed, when you go on to investigation 1B, there's nothing new I don't think you need to do. Actually, sorry. Yes, I think you might need here. You're asked to do exactly the same as we just did for south, but using the daily maximum gust from the north. So you're going to repeat what we just did in GeoGebra, but for your other tab from Excel, so for this tab here. So that will be a good opportunity for you to practice doing that yourselves. But other than that, you should be able to work through and then just answer these questions based on what we've done so far. When you get down to this point on the instructions, this is the appendix 1, which I mentioned earlier. You don't need to worry about that if you have successfully used GeoGebra to form the histograms. So hopefully that was useful. Do ask your teacher or go along to a subject extension, or by all means get in touch with me, James, in the Maths department if you've got any questions about that. Okay, thanks very much.